Hi, BrenTech here, where tech is made simple. So Edge version 146 has been released, and this latest release rolled out late on Friday last week in my part of the world. So to check, we have version 146. We head to our main menu, help and feedback about Microsoft Edge. So latest version in bold, 146.0.38, 56.62. Now, first of all, focusing on the security fixes that have rolled out. Now, that will include all of the Chromium open source security patches that rolled out last week. There were quite a few, which I have posted on in previous videos. But just to highlight 2 0 days, which I think are quite important, where, as I've mentioned, the first 0 day is listed as inappropriate implementation in the V8 JavaScript engine. And the second is listed as out of bounds right in Skier. And 0 days, as you may well know, are actively exploited, which means they are current out there and happening. So 2 very important security fixes have rolled out, both patching 2 high severities. And as mentioned, the Chromium team and Google is aware that those exploits exist in the wild. Now, focusing on what's new. First of all, Microsoft says that in Edge version 146, you will no longer be able to create a new custom primary password in Edge settings. So what this means is that users who already have a custom primary password configured will see a warning that the feature will not be available starting June the 4th this year. So on June the 4th, Microsoft says users still using a custom primary password will automatically be migrated to device authentication. So just take note of that. That's quite important. And then there is a fix that's rolling out where Microsoft says it's fixed an issue on Windows that could cause tabs to be discarded unexpectedly on high memory devices. So if you do find yourself affected, that's quite an important fix taking place. And then focusing on the so-called feature updates. Now, there's quite a lot going on under the hood, but just to go through a couple that you may be interested in. First of all, if we head to our main menu, also known as the ellipsis, more tools, and we click on launch search bar, Microsoft says that you can now quickly send images to Bing Visual Search from the Edge desktop search to identify images. And this feature is only available on Windows devices. So just take note of that. And next up with this release, Microsoft says that in regards to tracking prevention, in this release, Edge now has a single setting for tracking prevention. The update removed the ability to set strict tracking prevention only for in private. So now Edge uses a single setting for both browser modes. So for this, if we head to our in private browsing, you will see here it says, if this is off, you'll use the same tracking prevention setting as a normal browser window. And obviously you've got to toggle that on. Always use strict tracking prevention when browsing in private. And if you don't, it's going to use the same tracking prevention as mentioned as your normal browsing. So that's quite important that this feature, Microsoft says, is on a controlled feature rollout. So you may see it, you may not currently. And then Microsoft has also made improvements to site permissions user interfaces, with Microsoft saying site permissions have been redesigned to better align with user expectations. Improvements include changes to the Omnibox and page info dialog, and permissions are easier to review and modify in settings. Once again, take note, this is on a controlled feature rollout. And for this 146 release, most of the feature updates are rolling out gradually, so you may not see them currently. And then for the next, if we head into our privacy search and services, clear browsing data, choose what to clear. Microsoft says that Microsoft Edge is now simplifying the clear browsing data by removing the passwords from the list of data types that can be cleared. So you can't clear passwords anymore from your delete browsing data dialog. This update, Microsoft says, addresses feedback that users were unintentionally deleting their saved passwords when clearing their browsing history, which led to confusion and sign-in issues. And this has also taken place previously in Google Chrome. So obviously, Microsoft following suit. So Microsoft says you can continue to manage, edit, or delete passwords directly from your password manager. So that would be passwords in order for Microsoft Password Manager, which I actually think is a nice move. And then Microsoft says that in regards to the secure network, which is the VPN, Microsoft says that trackers embedded in websites often monitor browsing activity and infer location from IP addresses. Now, there's a new feature called private IP that uses tracking prevention block lists to reroute known trackers through secure network, which Microsoft says helps obscure the user's IP address. So private IP is a new feature which Microsoft says expands the capabilities of Edge Secure Network, which is the built-in VPN. And once again, the feature is on a controlled rollout. So those are the new features and changes and improvements according to the actual official changelog. And there's something else I have spotted just to bring to your attention if you are using Edge. If we head back to our main menu, more tools, you will see there is a new Customize Edge, which I have posted on when it was still in preview, which looks very similar to the Customize Chrome side panel you get in the Chrome web browser, where you can change light to dark to system. You can change the color of your theme in regards to the user interface, also very similar to Google Chrome. And you've got your toolbar where you can toggle on your toolbar buttons here to the top right. It's very similar to what Google has done with its side panel. So that's the new Customize Edge side panel. I've also noticed. You may have seen this, may have not, but just bringing that to attention if you are using Edge. So guys, that's more or less what's new in Edge version 146, which as mentioned, rolled out late last week on Friday in my part of the world. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.